All right. Well, I'd like to welcome you to our conversation that we're having. Being joined by some local pastors here in Grants Pass with me. I've got up in the top left, at least of my screen, Sam Peck. He's at Philippi Church. Down at the bottom in his bedroom is Tyler Goins. Tyler's he's a campus pastor at the Redwood campus of River Valley Community Church. And joining us here shortly will be Rex Baker, who is the lead pastor of Pursuit Church of the Nazarene. And so this is fun because we're going to get a chance to just chat about what the church looks like in spring and heading into summer of 2020 with what we know is just an unprecedented, event going on in our world. So I just kind of wanted to touch base a little bit before we jumped into this. Sam and I were talking for a few minutes before Tyler, you came on, but just what has the last week looked like for you guys at your ministries, your churches, kind of how your life is intersected with this at the same time too. I know, like for me with a wife and kids, trying to balance even more than normal, it seems like, has been an interesting challenge. But just kind of curious what this last week has looked like so far with our first week of hands-off, no gathering online church.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Me first, huh? Yeah, well, River Valley, we've been trying to do the online church thing, but kind of outside of the Sunday gatherings that we're not allowed to have, which I'm all supportive of that, by the way, of not gathering, social distancing, all that good stuff. But we're trying to call all our members, just checking in. Hey, how you doing? It's crazy, the 50 interactions you have on a Sunday that now we don't have those.
Yeah.
And so, like, I guess we don't really realize all that happens in 2 to 3 hours on Sunday morning that we've just lost. Just that connection, So we're trying to connect with people, phone, texting, FaceTiming, Zoom. Just trying to connect with people, make sure everyone's doing okay, and just kind of keep that social connection.
Totally.
Yeah. You talk about that because for a lot of people, especially with us, we've got a lot of older folks at our church.
Yeah.
And they may not get out a ton anyway. Their normal day-to-day life may be relatively isolated as it is, or, they may just see their kids, or if they live close to family. But so Sunday is really a chance. I think for us, sometimes as pastors, we might lose track of that a little bit. Because I know if you're like me, I'm always locked in on a Sunday morning to where I kind of blow past a lot of conversations, or I have real quick short ones because I'm focused on what's my next task. And so to think about that, it's for everybody else, it is a big part of their week.
Totally.
Sam, what's it look like for you guys at Philippi?
Yeah, man, it's, if you would have told me, that 6 months after we were going to plant this church that we wouldn't be allowed to meet for who knows how long, I would have been like, cool. Okay. But it's actually been really good. We've just basically taken a shotgun approach. We've kind of been like, we can't just lean on live streaming on Sunday. We got to, use everything we can to stay connected. And so we've been doing a lot of things. Obviously, we're doing a live stream on Sunday, like everybody else, or, pre-record or whatever. And that's been cool. But in addition to that, we've been using things like Slack. Slack is an app that a lot of people use for staff and stuff like that. But it's cool because you can create groups within it. It's kind of a closed channel conversation. And we've been just pushing all of our people to get onto Slack and then creating groups within that. So we have a men's group. We have like a COVID support group where people can just post, needs, encouragements, things like that. We have just kind of a random group. So that's been really, really cool. We're doing like a weekly Zoom meeting that's for everybody that wants to tune in. People can just call in and listen. And basically Wednesdays at 7:30, we do a Zoom meeting, and that's just for anybody that wants prayer, wants to check in, has questions. I'm trying to do lots of like videos and updates and just like communicating with our church. Another thing I did was I exported our whole church database into a spreadsheet and gave that to some of our key leaders. And then we're kind of, I uploaded it to like a Google Drive or a Google Sheets thing so that we can update who's checked in with who and just keep track of like, hey, this person was called at this day and here's how they're doing. Because we like any church in Grants Pass, we have some older folks, and some people that are definitely in that risk category. So we're trying to make sure we're, just checking in with everybody. I'm just like committed to call 5 congregants every day and just check on those 5 every day.
Nice.
So yeah, those things, so far are working well, but it's just, everybody's making it up as they go. I mean, it's just a crazy thing, man.
So for those who don't know much about the churches here, Grants Pass, if you don't know much about Grants Pass, we're a city of 36,000 or so, maybe closer to 40,000 in Southern Oregon. And this is a community that has really grown a lot in the last, Tyler, 20 years? You grew up here, right? 20 years or so. It's really, really exploded numbers wise. But it's kind of a neat to see the diversity of our churches here. Here at Redwood, we are on the smaller side of average. We run probably around 150 people on the weekends, maybe a little under that some weeks, a little over that some weeks, but kind of an older congregation. Tyler is at River Valley, which is one of the larger churches here in town, a multi-site church. You guys have 4 locations, correct?
Correct.
16. How many? 16 locations?
Well, 5 if you count Tyler's bedroom campus.
That's right. Well, we're trying to take over you guys' churches too, so.
Yeah,
It's only a matter of time. Every church will end up being River Valley at some point.
And the funny thing here is they're like across the street from us, and they're River Valley or Redwood. And I don't know how many times people have come here thinking they're there. And so then they think I'm Tyler, which is great because then I can just really make Tyler look bad. It's like, yeah, I'm Tyler Goins. I hate people, and stuff like that, but I don't do that very often.
My favorite story, Kurt, was when we're having outdoor services and people were complaining about the noise.
They were calling, okay, so yeah, they do. In the summertime, River Valley Redwood uses an amphitheater, does outdoor services, annoys all their neighbors, and they call me and complain about it. And they threaten us with noise complaints. Like, we have nothing to do with that. That's not us.
I feel like I owe you some money or something.
And there's interest. That was 2 summers ago, so there's interest on that.
Oh man, that's funny.
As you can see, we're joined also now by Rex Baker. Rex is the lead pastor at Pursuit Church of the Nazarene. So guys, kind of to jump into this, we got a few things we'll kind of direct and talk about throughout the course of this today. But kind of the first question is just what has the last week been like for you with your church, with you in your job? How is your job obviously all of our jobs have changed this week because we're trying to figure out how to engage our churches and our people, and really the people who we would hope to pick up to come to our church as visitors on a regular basis anyway. All of that, how has it changed just in the last week? What's been different for you just in the last week period? Tyler, if you want to go ahead, you were about to answer a minute ago when Rex hopped in.
Sure. Yeah, so I guess it's crazy because a lot of people right now have a ton of free time, but I think as pastors, like we were doing the same thing and then like got a ton of things added to our plate now as we're trying to figure out what the paradigm looks like. So yeah, I've been trying to make like little videos to encourage people on Facebook, but also at River Valley, we're going through our roster and just calling people, checking in, hey, how you doing? Do you have any needs? Do you have access to the internet? If not, can we get you a DVD? So we're just trying to connect with people. I was telling the guys earlier, it's crazy. On a Sunday morning, you don't realize it. You probably connect with 50 people in those quick, conversations that maybe are only 30 seconds long, but they actually mean a lot. They add up, and it's a lot of social connection that's not happening now. And so it's just crazy how much more work it is to try and do what gets done in that condensed Sunday morning, that kind of holy time that we don't have right now, to try and make up for it. So that's what we've been doing or trying to do.
Sam, you mentioned some of the stuff you guys have been doing, with reaching out and calling people and setting them up on whether it is Zoom or an app kind of like that. But what's it been like for you kind of more personally as going through your job just on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I agree, Tyler. It's added mostly just added a lot of extra because we're still prepping a sermon, right? And there's not the administrative stuff of setting up a Sunday morning, but I think it's to me it feels way more like an old school pastoral job where you're like doing house visits it feels more like that right now, because the Sunday service, which is usually a bulk of our work for the week, is gone. And now it's like, man, I need to connect with people and see how they're doing, and things are changing every day. You can probably hear my kids running up and down the hallway. Sorry.
I figured that was somebody at Tyler's place.
Yeah, no, not Tyler's. So it's just added a lot of extra, like, man, how's this person doing? How's that person doing? And every day I'm getting a text from another one of our congregants that they're laid off, or that something happened or whatever. And so, with that, it's just kind of it's been a burden on me, to want to just help everybody and not knowing exactly how to do that, wanting to, I don't know, just like wanting to be able to connect the body to the needs. But it's so weird because as a pastor, your job usually is to get people to connect face to face, to get off their phones, get off their computers, and really press into each other. And now I can't do that. Like, so I have to push people to their electronics, push people to technology, like get on your phone, get on your social media. It's just totally backwards for me. So I'm like and I'm also trying to get people that don't really use technology to use it and engage in it. The younger people, it's really easy. They're like, sure, Zoom meetings, Slack, text messages, whatever, YouTube, Facebook, they're already there. There's another generation that just not on. Like we have one gal in our church that she doesn't have computers, she doesn't email, she doesn't have texting. She has one home phone, and so it's like, how do I get this gal connected? She can't watch our live stream, stuff like that. It's been a little bit of a challenge. So really for me, it's just like a lot. I've been on the phone, like basically nonstop, I feel like, for the last 5 days, or 7 days, just calling people, checking in with people. Plus, not to mention last week, before the state of Oregon said it was going to be 10 people or less, we were like, let's do small groups. So we were going to just organize everyone into small groups and put all this work into that. And then immediately after that, they like basically said 10 or less. And then after that, they were like, forget it, on Friday. So basically that all went in the garbage. And then we had to switch to live streaming last minute. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind like everybody else, just crazy, but it's been good.
Yeah. Rex?
So pretty much echoing what everybody else is saying, we helped everyone kind of the idea of home church. None of us want our church family to lose momentum in growing their faith. And I think that's what we all want, right? We realize the value of Sunday, but we also can see the beyond Sunday. And this is really, I think it's challenged every one of us to think outside the box and to really think about what do we do as pastors and ministers, and how can we keep that going in light of not meeting. So a couple of those things that we were trying to do is creating, I gave them a guide on how to do house church. Start with a psalm of praise, and then pick a couple songs, whether it was karaoke or just listen to a great, YouTube Christian song or encouraging song, and then going to the teaching, and then we modeled small groups where we had questions afterwards for them to discuss. And my hope is that we can bring that challenge to them to initiate growing your faith at home, and not just like, oh, well, we're not going to go, so just push play on YouTube or whatever, and then go on to the next thing. But really, my prayer is that more conversations are happening with parents and their kids, or with spouses, more time of family prayer, more time where we can see that happen. So I've been trying to, anybody I talk to, encourage that element of it, and seeing what that looks like even Sunday mornings for my family, and then speaking out of that. Just today I started to do and I did it by text, because phone calls, even though they're powerful, I've done a few phone calls today with members of the church, encouraging them, how can I pray for them? How's it going? And then I realized, man, I really want to start reaching more people. So I started just today, I did a group text with a husband and wife, and then said, hey, I just reaching out in this time of isolation, wanting you to know I love you, I'm praying for you, and want to encourage you. And then I actually included a prayer that they both were able to see and read. The cool thing for me personally was the power in it was I was using speak to text just to speed it up. I don't know if you guys do that, but I use speak to text to speed it up. And then I found myself, well, I'm not just texting a prayer, but I'm praying it out loud, and Siri's picking it up. And I personally was like affected by that. I mean, I kind of got choked up at one point asking for God to, Holy Spirit to pour over a home. And I was praying for their kids by name. And it was just a powerful moment for me that I thought was just doing something pastoral was just, I don't know, it was just really, really cool. So anyway, I'm sending these texts out and I'm getting words back. I'm like, man, this was perfect timing. Thank you so much. And just realizing the power it is in shepherding God's people, and how, you know, you try to do that throughout the week, but I'm intensifying it this week because I'm trying to reach more people that normally we would see on Sunday. And it's just really challenged me that am I shepherding enough? Am I caring enough? Interestingly, 3 weeks ago, I added to my prayer list, my personal list, the Lord help me to love and care for people more than I have been recently. Sometimes I get kind of caught up in the programming, caught up in the Sunday and the administrative things and all these things. But my prayer was, Lord, help me just care and love. Interestingly enough, you know, I'm in a place where I feel like that's all I can do right now. And I'm even challenged on how am I going to do that? So I think my heart was already open for that. And now the Lord is giving opportunity for that. So I'm asking the Lord how to do that. So it's been fruitful for me personally. And I think a lot of people have really realized that we need to be connected even stronger. And this has really highlighted that for them.
You know,
Rex, I love that idea. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I love that you said it that way too about, I think we just lost Rex. Oh, there he is.
He's like,
there
I'm out. That's all I had to say.
He's gone. Peace out. Is that the Zoom equivalent of dropping the mic and walking away?
Yeah, peace.
I guess.
But I love that you said that. You know, Tyler mentioned earlier how, you know, for a Sunday morning, we may not have, and even the regular church folks that aren't on staff or on volunteer staff or don't have a job, they may not actually engage with that many people on a Sunday morning, all told, but there is that engagement that's there. And what I was saying, kind of what you just said, I get really guilty of kind of walking right past a lot of conversations on a Sunday morning because I'm so task-minded on a Sunday.
Sure.
And even if I have all my stuff ready to go and you know, everything's like like everything's clicking like it's supposed to. And Rex, you're a similar size church to us. You kind of know a lot of times that doesn't happen for a church like us. We're scrambling sometimes because something went wrong at 9:15 and church starts in 15 minutes. And it doesn't happen all the time, but every once in a while. But for me, it's I'm so focused on what I'm about to do that even if I have a conversation with somebody, just to be honest, and this is embarrassing to admit, sometimes I'm not really in that conversation. And so now when we have conversations with somebody, that is the focus of what we're doing, like you just said. And I really appreciate how you said that, because that is what we're doing. We're intentionally engaging, even if it's a text or it's an email. You know, maybe we don't sit down on a full phone conversation or sit down in FaceTime or Zoom or Skype or something to that degree. So yeah, I think that was very, very good. And I think that, you know, the more we can get those conversations out, like you said, I was going to make a joke until you got a little bit more serious with the whole praying. I was going to ask if you've ever prayed with an artificial intelligence before, like Siri, but you know, but then you got into the serious part of it, like that's a very, very powerful thing. So, but you know, you guys are kind of answering really the first question I'm getting at too, which is just how can we creatively respond to this, you know, and that you guys have given some great feedback there. I am curious to know, I know I already talked with Sam a little bit about this. How did you guys handle last week? Did you guys go live? And if so, how did you do it? Like for us, you know, we didn't actually live stream. We made it look like we live streamed, but we did not live stream. We came in on Friday and recorded our service. Our band played, you know, their set, and then I did the communion med, preached, did some announcements, and then came in Friday night and Saturday morning and made a video and uploaded it, and had it uploaded where it could do Facebook Premiere at 9:30 Sunday morning and present like it was live. And it wasn't because I was trying to say, oh, you know, we're live, but we're really not. It was just, I wanted kind of that experience for people. And you guys know how Facebook Live works. There's people are commenting in real time. There's interaction. So I was actually able to set up my computer in my kitchen at home and respond to comments. It was funny. I had it on my computer and on my phone and on my TV. And somebody joked later that I was trying to run up our viewership. I said, no, I just responded from the church on my computer. and I hosted a watch party on my phone from my personal account, and then realized I can't get off of that. So I had to just set my phone aside and leave it, and then put it on my TV so my kids could watch it.
You're trying to boost your stats. We know
You
it.
know, well, it's like, we have multiple services. We count the pastors and the band on stage twice, right? That's what you do, right? So,
And all the kids and the home.
yeah,
And the pregnant gals count for 2.
that's right. Yeah. So,
Just assume they're twins. It's 3. There you go.
but we were able to record all that ahead of time. And from my standpoint, I thought make a video that was a little cleaner, because we don't really have live stream capabilities here. We would have Facebook Live and a cell phone is about the best we can do. And so we can do all this ahead of time with better camera setup, better audio setup, better. I was able to put my slides on there like I would any other Sunday. Not have to have extra people here to live stream. I think we had a total of 7 of us here Friday night recording it. So it was, and that included the band, in the worship band. So how'd you guys handle it? Sam?
Oh, I think I already spoke to it, but I just had a question, but I didn't want to commandeer.
No,
Do
go
you
ahead.
guys feel like with what was just mandated on Monday that we're still good to be able to do things like live stream if it means 4, 5, 6 people? I mean, to do a live stream, it takes probably a worship leader or 2, somebody to run the slides, somebody to run the camera. You're going to be there to preach. So that puts 5 or 6 people in a group. With what Kate Brown just said, do you think we're even okay to still do that? That's what I'm wrestling with for this week. Or, if we have to do it from our house or something. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I really tried to look into the points of what she said, because I'm like you guys. I want to be a good citizen, and I want to do what we're supposed to do, what we're told to do. And honestly, I don't want to look for loopholes in this. I don't want to say, well, we got like last week when it was 10, like, oh, well, we got 10 people in this room and 10 people in that room, and no, we're just 10, period. But so my thing is, I looked through that. I don't think there's anything that says we can't still do church, as long as we're able to keep our distance. One of our elders is a law enforcement officer, so I talked to him quite a bit after that announcement came down. I said, I want to make sure we're doing this the right way. I don't want to look for loopholes. I don't want to cheat the system. He said, just make sure you can guarantee that you can keep the distance between people. We have a food pantry here. And so our food pantry is still open and probably going to be more needed now than it has been. And so we're trying to follow the same guidelines that a grocery store would follow, as far as making sure our workers in there can keep their distance. If they feel the slightest bit unwell, stay home. Normally we would let people who are coming to the pantry come inside. We're not allowing that. And we've got tape on the ground outside to keep their distance of 6 feet apart. Kind of like the grocery stores are doing now. So I think not to sidetrack this question, but as long as we're able to keep distance between each other, we're not technically gathering. I think it is more of a job type of scenario when we're recording. It'd be the same idea as doing church on a Sunday morning. So as long as we're able to keep responsible distance, I think that my personal thought is we're not violating anything with it. That said, I think too, sorry, Rex, I think that too, if we can do it with fewer people, that's probably not a bad idea either.
Yeah, I was just going to say now with the whole idea of what's essential, and if these folks are all volunteers and it's not a job for them specifically. Yeah. So, people that are working at the grocery store, they have to stay open and they're getting hazard pay. That means the government recognizes they're a place that has that's essential to the economy and for people staying alive. The church, I don't think falls in that category necessarily. So we don't technically have to have church, even if with the mandated numbers. And so obviously as things read, I think it's like, if you can work from home, then work from home, and that kind of thing. Technically, I guess we could find ways to do everything from home or just by ourselves from the office, that kind of thing. So I think like you said, Kurt, if we're responsible and we're not trying to find loopholes, I mean, we're biblically mandated to submit to a local authority. And I think that if we try to find loopholes, first of all, we're discrediting our credibility as Christian people,
right?
When we do that. And I don't hear us doing that, but I think we do have to be careful on that, because, it's probably a matter of witness at that point. Because we all want to do the right thing, but what does that look like in trying to do church? And so, yeah, I think as long as we're just careful and we're listening and watching and making sure that we're in line, then, and like you said, those that are together, the social distancing is important too. But to answer your question earlier about what we did, we pre-recorded. I didn't want to limit the people who were going to join us on Sunday by having a specific time to go live. So I pre-recorded, and then we posted the YouTube video on Sunday morning. So it wasn't accessible earlier in the week, so that way it felt fresh. And I talked as if we were gathering on Sunday, but I did everything ahead of time, and allowed me to sit in my living room with my family as well, and be a part of that home church idea. And then people could chime or watch anytime they wanted to. We just made sure it was available through our website, through our Facebook, even though it was a YouTube on our YouTube channel. We felt like
that's what we did too. We had it on all three, which you're probably like us. Our website is actually fed by YouTube, so we upload it to YouTube and embed the link over to our website. Tyler, obviously you guys are a little different situation because you're set up for this, you know, with
in some ways, yeah.
So what was it like for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we were similar to you guys in that we pre-recorded it. That felt like the best way to do it, to edit it and make it look as good as we could. And we did more the preaching from the living room kind of vibe, and that was cool. Yeah. So if you don't know, we're one church that meets in 4 locations. We normally do live teaching, but this week, you know, and in this craziness, we're just, for stewardship of preparation, we're just having one campus pastor do the teaching for the whole organization, the whole church at River Valley. So my dad, Mark, he did the teaching this week from his living room, and it looked really good. It was a little bit shorter than normal. It's about 21 minutes. But it was a good message, and we had a lot of engagement. But then, like you, Kurt, we did the Facebook watch parties, which kind of promotes engagement in the various campus Facebook groups.
Oh, okay. That's a neat idea to do it that way, campus by campus. So, yeah. So when you take your turn, are you going to be in your bedroom or in your living room or?
Oh yeah, definitely. Right here. No pants on.
Are you going to be taking a drink of that thing every 5 seconds too, like you've been doing?
Dude, my throat's parched, man. I probably have this thing.
You probably
Not
do.
funny.
Yeah, no.
If
Not
you've
funny.
never watched, which Sam hasn't really hung out with us, Tyler and Rex and I met on a weekly basis for quite a while. This is basically what our conversations were like every time anyway.
It's no different. In my bedroom.
Yeah. Well, no, we didn't have those conversations in your bedroom. So, but we are still recording. Yes, this part's not getting cut out. You know, the big question for me, because this is obviously we're learning how to do all this, but the timing of this for me has been interesting because this is the time of the year, actually going back about probably 2 to 3 weeks ago, is when I really start to challenge our people. Hey, who are you bringing with you for Easter? Easter's 3 weeks away. And so what are you guys thinking as far as how are you approaching getting ready for Easter Sunday, knowing that we are not going to be meeting, even if we go just the original 4 weeks, like Governor Brown said, that goes through Easter. And so how are you guys approaching getting ready for Easter, knowing that we are meeting, you know, through telephones and computer screens and TVs?
I'm still trying to figure that out. What I can do that's brings a little bit more uniqueness to Resurrection Sunday, as far as how we always do. We always put a lot more effort into Easter Sunday because of what it celebrates and what it means to us as a Christian faith. So I'm still working through that. Initially, I was going to do a weekend of communion where groups of 10 or less could reserve a spot online or calling us, and then that family could come to the church, and I would lead them through communion sometime on the weekend, specifically Good Friday is what I was aiming for. But that all changed now that we have don't go unless you have to go to the store or, that kind of thing. So I really can't use that model anymore to bring people together on a smaller scale and celebrate communion together. So right now I'm still up in the air on what is that going to look like outside of just a YouTube teaching of Easter. I want to be creative in helping families celebrate that together. And so I'm thinking about just giving them more tools to read through the Easter passage, and having folks at home, have them think ahead of time. And what can you do to make this special for your family outside of an Easter egg hunt? What else can you do? That, we normally have done the past couple of years what we call the Empty Tomb Experience. We transform one of our rooms into kind of a walkthrough, and at the end of it, it's a tomb that you can actually go inside and physically go into a tomb and touch the walls and see that Jesus is not there, that he rose. And so we're not able to do that now. So I thought, well, what if we encourage the kids, or parents, do the same thing in one of your kids' bedroom, make an Empty Tomb Experience. And I don't know how little kids might like that, but outside of that, it probably wouldn't take. But just to really help the families take advantage of the time. But I'm still thinking through that. So any thoughts you guys have, I'm open to some ideas too.
We got one of the things we're thinking about. So I just had hired a kids director like 2 weeks before this happened.
Oh,
just got her up to speed on everything. And then it was like, okay. And so rather than like laying her off or whatever, I'm kind of redirecting her energy into, for one, creating like weekly ideas for ways that parents can engage their kids in the sermon for that week. But for Easter, she had the idea of actually like making up craft packs and like mailing them to our families so that the kids could look forward to getting it in the mail and actually have something really fun to do, probably both for Palm Sunday and for Easter. So we've been like collecting everyone's address that has kids and all that kind of stuff. So that'll be kind of fun. And in addition to that, I was thinking it might be a good idea to do some like pre-recorded, cool, like just have people pre-record like 1-minute testimonies, or just, or, something to do with the sermon, just to put a little bit of extra work into, that Sunday. But outside of that, I don't know, in terms of having people invite each other, I think we can totally just challenge everybody to get someone on the live stream. Like, hey, let your neighbor know that we're going to be live streaming at this time, give them the link or whatever, and I think people still have that compulsion, I think, to do something for church on Easter. If they're that CEO type, Christmas and Easter only type, like they're still going to have that compulsion, and we can still drive them towards that,
Yeah. And Sam, to add on to that, Easter obviously is a big Sunday where people do invite. And so I like that thought. We've had more people check out our YouTube video outside of our church because we posted something. Normally it's just an audio. We don't have video equipment in our sanctuary. And so knowing that there's been more people that have watched that one sermon on YouTube probably gives us maybe even more of a platform to invite people to watch that. And so it'd be curious to know, how many takers there would be on that. But I haven't thought about that, to actively invite, to that time.
Interestingly, we had probably the same thing. Like we had probably twice our normal attendance view the sermon on YouTube. And a lot of that was people from our church giving their neighbors the link and being like, hey, watch this. Like I had tons of people in our church say that they were telling their unsaved neighbors to tune into the live stream. I'm like, that's kind of cool. And in a sense, it's a little safer for them than just showing up at a church where they don't know anybody, for the first time. And so, it might be kind of cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, I'm kind of along those same lines. So I've told people, I said, this is actually the easiest it's ever been to invite somebody to church, because all you do is share the Facebook link and you're naturally inviting people to watch. We had, like I told you guys earlier, we have usually 120 to 150 people here on a good Sunday. We had over 700 views on Facebook alone. I haven't checked our website. Now, how Facebook Live views work. I mean, some of those might have been for a minute or two, and then they moved on. I noticed.
How many of those were from you watching?
I was just going to say, what, 500 from the Witten family?
No.
200?
Only two of the views were from me on Facebook, and then one on YouTube. Now, well, I take it back, because I've never done a Facebook watch party before. I don't know how they work. This is, I'm sort of millennial because I don't know how those work. I've never tried them. And so you have to be on it on your phone the whole time. If you click off of it at all, you leave the thing. And so like if I'd get a text or something, I'd answer the text and then go back onto it, or check my Facebook notifications or whatever. and my mother-in-law was actually watching the whole time. So she's in Oklahoma watching this the whole time. That's part of how I drove up our numbers. My whole family watched in Oklahoma.
Nice.
You pay
I
your
love
mother-in-law to watch 500 times. You're like, here.
No, she just has that much sympathy for me that she just watched. But,
Oh man, I actually used to do that. I was in a band. Do you guys remember MySpace? When
Oh, yeah.
MySpace was cool? I
dude,
was
we
in a
remember
band.
MySpace. I've been doing surveys on Facebook all week. Of course, I remember MySpace.
So, you know, when you were a band, you would make a band page and you'd have your music there and you could like see how many plays. And I was in high school. I'd literally sit there and click our plays all day long so that we would look like we got. I remember one day I was like texting the band, like, guys, we got 300 plays. And I literally had sat there all day. So embarrassing, man.
But apparently when you click on something else on your phone and then you come back to the watch party, I don't think it necessarily adds to your number. But she goes, I kept wondering why throughout the service, he kept saying, Kurt Witten has joined the watch party. Kurt Witten has joined the watch party. Like a dozen or 15 times throughout the course of that time. So I'm kind of with you guys though. I mean, as far as Easter, my guess is that this is somewhat organically going to take care of itself, because if people want to get on and watch a service, I mean, I think I probably watched parts of 10 different church services Sunday. I never get to do that, and what was great, because we're on the West Coast, 9:30 for us, church is already over with in my hometown. I got on and watched about parts of like 4 or 5 different churches from my hometown. A couple of churches, one that I grew up in, one that is kind of our home base church. 2 of them that I either was a part of or I'm friends with the pastoral staff there. I got to watch different denominations. Got to watch, Methodist, Episcopal. I mean, I watched a little bit of everything. And so that was just really, really neat for me to see, because I felt like really this is maybe the first Sunday we've had, maybe since the first Christian Sunday on the day of Pentecost, denomination didn't matter. It was just about church, it was just about Jesus on Sunday. And that to me was so cool. And I hope that Easter's kind of the same way. It's just about church. It's just about Jesus that day. It's not about Redwood Christian Church or Pursuit Nazarene Church or River Valley, or it's about the church in general. And what was really, really cool by doing the Facebook premiere video is, you see the names of people as they start watching that pops up on there. I had 2 guys I went to high school with. I haven't seen them since either high school or college. And I don't think that they go to church at all anymore. I don't think they ever really did. And they watched, I don't know how long they watched. Maybe it was a minute or 2, but they got on and watched, like how cool is that? I mean, that we have that capability now that it's probably never been easier to invite people for Easter. And I'm kind of like you guys were saying earlier, I'm still just kind of getting into the, just starting to figure it out, what we're going to do for Easter to make it special. I'm sure try to get as much stuff on our website to help parents with their kids as possible. One thing that was really neat for me Sunday is my kids are young. My oldest is 7, about 7.5. She's in 2nd grade. My middle one's 5. She's in preschool, and we've got a 1-year-old still. But my wife was at work Sunday, so it was me with the kids home or watching service. Well, it's Rex, kind of like you said, you watch with your family. I'm sitting there with my kids watching myself on my TV. It's kind of interesting. But we did a spot in our service where after our music, I got on and I introduced communion, and then I kind of turned it over to we were encouraging people to watch with their groups. Before that was completely shut down. But I said, I want you to take communion as a group, and I kind of just said, you've got time now. If anybody wants to share some thoughts, share some ideas. And just paused it and really, really stressed the unity of communion, because we're not able to take this together. We're going to be taking it in groups of maybe 2 up to maybe 10. But my kids are asking me questions. Well, Dad, what's communion? Why do we do communion? And my 5-year-old especially, which for us, communion was some grape juice and Cheez-Its. That's what we had at home. So, and grape juice and medicine cups is what we used. But so it was just, kind of setting with them really for the first time and getting to talk about, well, here's why we do communion. Here's why we take this, because of what Jesus did for us. And my oldest one is starting to figure it out. And then my middle one was just asking all sorts of questions. I don't think she quite got it yet, but getting to have those conversations in real time with my kids is something I haven't got to do in a long, long time. So it's pretty neat for me.
That is pretty cool.
Um,
I was
Go
going to
ahead.
add one thing. You know, it's just crazy the amount of potential I think for outreach right now too. It was crazy just going to the store yesterday. On my way, there was a guy who ran out of gas in the middle of the road, so obviously jump out, help him, push him off the side or whatever. And then as I was driving to the store, I thought I should check on that guy, but I'm like, well, I'll catch him on the way back. So I went to Fred Meyer, and then while I'm in Fred Meyer at the pharmacy line, there's an old guy in front of me who like mentions to me, man, it's weird you got to take your life in your hands to go to the store. I was like, yeah, I know, it's crazy, right? And I was like, well, dude, my church, we're like looking for people to help. Like, we get you some groceries, and so we ended up talking for a while. He's like lives by himself. He doesn't know anybody. He moved up here a while ago. And so anyways, made this connection with this guy, talked to him about the Lord. And then on my way back, I was able to help the guy with some gas money. And we ended up talking about the Lord and the whole thing. It was just like within 20 minutes, there was so much opportunity because people are scared
Yeah.
and they're a little
Yeah.
uneasy. They're kind of freaked out. Especially elderly people are feeling really insecure about going to the stores, but they're still going because some of them don't have people to go for them. I'm like, we could just walk up to people at the store and be like, hey, can we do your shopping for you? And that would start a relationship. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so much opportunity right now, I think, for us to reach people that before were pretty closed off to anybody,
Mhm.
you know. So I don't know, just throwing that out there. I mean,
Well, kind of piggyback off that question. The next thing I wanted to kind of ask you guys is what should this church start doing if this becomes long term? Like, let's say this goes beyond a month or two and it extends all summer, maybe into the fall, maybe all year. What should we as a church start to kind of prioritize? Um, what should and this we may not even have answers to this yet because we may just barely be even thinking about this yet. But what should our focus become? Because like you guys, I'm probably the same way. My focus is getting the church ready for Sunday. That's typically my focus. For right or wrong, that's typically what I think is how can I get everything in place to create a worship experience Sunday that can lead to conversation on Monday, that can lead to transformation down the road. And so that's out the door now. I'm trying to create an experience that I can put online. And I've kept saying throughout this, my whole goal is to put something that feels natural and normal in a time that's anything but. You know, we're in a time of, we don't even know what questions we're asking right now. So we don't have answers because we don't even know what the questions are. And so what steps should we be taking? I like, Sam, you talked about how this opens the door for conversations that we might not have otherwise. But let's just say this goes long term. How do we handle, small groups? How do we handle trying to reach new people? I think all of us are hoping to reach new people and bring the lost. And we all not just to talk about numbers, but we all want to grow because we want to be bringing people to Jesus. And so, how are we approaching that in this time? Specifically, if we do go long term. Go ahead, Rex. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we really have to start looking at this with spiritual eyes first, because I think the enemy is already using the fear to grip people. I mean, I have people close to me who are literally freaking out about what's going on, and they hear a story that may not be true, and they just have a tangent off of that. And so I think the enemy is capitalizing on this time, and we have to see this through spiritual lenses. So I think we need to be, first of all, ministers. One of our primary responsibilities needs to be men and women of prayer, praying for the church that God has put into our care, praying for just that fear, and that God would help those people specifically through that time. Also, helping other people be people of prayer. And I really think, so I was thinking about this, how can the enemy use this time of isolation? Well, for one, if somebody's dealing with an addiction, you have more time for that addiction. If there are children who are in a home that it's not a good place, and school is normally the place they go to for safety, now they're in that place all the time. And I think that we need to, if we view it through spiritual eyes, encourage people to be people of prayer, to be people in the Word, and somehow, and I mentioned, addictions. Somehow we can tackle these things that people are going to be now, because of fear, maybe running to things like drinking, prescription drug abuse, pornography abuse. I mean, this is going to be for a guy loses his job and now he's at home all the time, and I mean, the enemy wants to just wreak havoc with this. So I think we really, if we can do anything, is encourage people to see what's going on, how the enemy can use this, so that they can in turn use spiritual disciplines to help keep moving them forward, and not just kind of sitting back and waiting for the church to open on Sunday. Which changes, of course, our approach to ministry, is really helping people through those times. And I think as things settle down, we'll start to see maybe more of a rhythm of, man, I'm really being affected in ways I didn't think about. And that might open up doors to have those conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I keep seeing is we seem to know the physical dangers of this virus, but what we don't know is the psychological dangers of this virus, because of the fact we're having to quarantine and isolate. And, we as humans are naturally social creatures. I mean, I'm relatively introverted. I can handle being by myself or in my home for long periods of time. But at some point, I do need to get out and see people and have conversations. And what we're doing right now is great, but that just kind of, sort of fills that void a little bit. And so, yeah, to some degree, where are people going to turn for that? And that's where I like what you talked about with the spiritual disciplines. I think that is something that is extremely important as we move forward. It's important anyway, but I think we're maybe seeing a stronger emphasis on why. Sam, I know you got a bolt here in a few minutes. What are your thoughts on this as we kind of move forward?
Well, it's interesting for me because I just planted this church 6 months ago. Before that, I was kind of like the community groups pastor at a larger church. And so with that role, it was way more like this. So I feel like you were saying, Kurt, like our attention's having to shift from Sunday to the midweek stuff, or to like kind of how we get people connecting during the week. And I really think that's it. Like we need to think more, I think, like community group pastors. You're not community group pastors. We need to think more in terms of like, how do we get people to connect? I like what you said at the beginning about, I think we need to keep people out of the comfort of the rhythms of just, oh yeah, we just tune in the live stream and we're good. Like I think really have some challenges for our people. Like, hey, we're going to read through this book together, and then we're going to have dialogue about it. Hey, we're going to do Bible studies on Zoom like every other day if you want to. Hey, we're going to have some groups that are going to study a particular thing. I'm just thinking about like ways that we can get people really connecting, having some challenge in their spiritual life. And I just think that's going to take a shift in our mind, but I think we're all up for it. I think it's just going to take a totally different, it could be the best thing that ever happened, honestly, because I really have been feeling for a while, like pastorally, our mindset is too focused on the production elements of Sunday and not focused enough on getting people connected. And that's a critique for myself as well, and so I don't know. I think maybe it could be a really good thing for us to start thinking more about intentional ways to get people connecting in the midweek outside of the church service. Can we still be a church without this thing that we do on Sunday? Is this still possible? I was talking to Josh Johnson, who kind of runs our Church of the Valley thing. And I like the way he put it. He was saying that movie directors will oftentimes remove the scene that they're most attached to and then watch it without that scene, just to see how the movie flows without it, because you get attached to things. And I think Sunday has become this thing in American Christianity where we've put all our chips on that. It's like Sunday morning is church. And now, interestingly, God's like, no, that's gone. What are you going to do now? And I'm like, okay, well, we really got to reassess, and how important is Sunday? Is Sunday what makes us a church? And is the production and the putting on of a service, how important is that? So I think it's going to be a good thing in that sense for us to really have to do some deep work on what it means to be a church community. And praise God, we have technology and things that can allow us to still connect. I mean, I had a guys Bible study this morning at 6 a.m. It was so good. I mean, we had 6 or 7 guys tune in, and it was, we just spent some time praying for each other in the book of Joshua. It was awesome, and so that's a win,
Yeah.
Real quick, Sam, did you use Zoom for that platform?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we did. There was some bugs at first. Once everybody figures it out, it's easy. Once everybody gets it on their computer, it's just the initial kind of awkwardness of figuring out how to do it. But, if we can get everybody past that threshold, dude, it was awesome. I mean, everybody was just sitting in their house, drinking their coffee in their pajamas, diving into the book of Joshua, and guys peeled off. They went to work or, had to go, and it was awesome, man. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
I agree so much with what you just said there, Sam. I think we get so attached to what we like, what's comfortable, what feels great. One of the things I thought the other day is this could possibly be the best thing the church has ever seen, because we are forced to get out of God's way, and I said, God may do things here that we've either forgot he's even capable of or didn't know he was capable of because we've always just done it ourselves and not really let him do. And so this may be great. When I say the greatest thing for the church, I mean, for us, for us who show up and run the church, it may be great for us to be forced to sit on the sidelines for a bit and let God do some amazing things.
Did you catch what you said, Kurt? You said it may, what did you say? What'd you say? We're the ones that run the church. And I know you didn't mean it that way, but like, that's the way we see Sunday. But just to piggyback on what Sam said, like really it moves us out of the way from a person focused church to a God focused church. And I think that's what the Lord can do. I think it's a powerful thing that he can use this time to help us reevaluate kind of what we're doing, how we're doing it. And I pray that my church, there we go again. I pray that God's church that never becomes a personality focused church. And this is really, I think, helping. It's helping me because I felt that way lately. I felt that pull to be like, man, if I'm not on Sunday, then, and so I keep, for some reason, raising the bar on my own self for Sunday. And that's not okay. That's unhealthy because it's not about me. And this has been a really great opportunity for me to kind of step down from that mindset and really see, here's what the church really is. So it's good.
I have to go, guys, but I'm just going to, thanks for having me on, and I got to peace out, but thank you so much, Kurt, and talk to you guys soon. Sound good?
See you, bro.
Right, thanks, Sam.
Okay. See ya.
Tyler, kind of get your thoughts a little bit too. I know your role is a little bit different than what ours might be. In front of the campus, being on the teaching team, but still very actively involved, with what goes on at River Valley. So your thoughts, if this becomes long-term, what do we do as the church?
Yeah, I don't have any practical answers to that question right now, but I think two things that come to mind are the idea of a non-anxious presence and adaptability. So non-anxious presence that in the midst of this unprecedented social upheaval, I mean, when was the last time the church could not meet on Easter, like around the world? I mean, ever? I mean, maybe
World
in certain
War II,
countries,
maybe,
World War II, but churches were still meeting here, maybe all the dudes were at war. And, but I mean, so this is just unprecedented. But I think the church maintaining that non-anxious presence, let me brag on Sam now that he's not here, but just that idea of him connecting with those two people there the other day, that was awesome. I love that. And it's true. I think people are super anxious right now. If we're being honest, the three of us are somewhat unsettled. But if we can allow the peace of Christ to reign in our hearts, I think that's going to be compelling to people. And then adaptability. It's like you guys have been saying, with obstacles come opportunities. And, what are we going to do with them? How is God at work in this? He's always working. As Jesus says in John 5:17, God's always at work. And so, how do we jump on board with what he's already doing? Like you said, Kurt, kind of somewhat get out of the way, jump on board and see what happens.
Yeah. Rex, you mentioned earlier, we were joking about my church, my job, I run this thing, but then you said earlier, one of our strongest pulls right now is taking care of my people, your people, and so I think we have that shepherd mentality of, yes, we know this is God's flock, but we're also called to tend this flock and be responsible for this flock. So we naturally take ownership. So if you're watching this, please understand, we say, I say my church, or I say the church I run, or I lead, or we all know as pastors, no, this is God's church. I'm not ever going to say that I'm the one in charge of this place, because God is always going to be the one in charge of this church. And I know I can speak for Tyler and Rex, they're going to feel the same way. And I hope and pray all other pastors feel the same way. But yeah, it's just a matter of, my hope in all this is not that Redwood Christian grows, or River Valley grows, or Pursuit grows, that the church grows, because God's kingdom grows, because people are finding that they need something. And we see this a lot. We saw this right after 9/11. The church just swelled because people were scared. We needed answers. And again, we needed answers to questions we didn't know how to ask. And that's where we're at right now. And so I really appreciated too what Sam said about how we can initiate, some of those conversations with people. I talked to a girl at Row Grocers the other day. She was working there in the drive-through line, and you could tell she was trying to put on a good face, but you could tell she was just a little bit uneasy, and just having a really quick, brief conversation as she's handing me my coffee, in the drive-through line. So those conversations are there. Sorry, Rex, go ahead.
No, I thought you were finished that thought. So I think it's important for us to have a voice in this time too, as spiritual leaders of our community. And there's all kinds of voices talking right now. Of course, the news, the media, what the CDC is saying, what the president's saying, what our governor's saying. And these are all good things that we need to listen to so that we can be precautioned about it. But behind it all is causing anxiety and causing fear and doubt and wonder and worry. And so I think, especially those of us who follow Christ, we have a hope, right? A hope of our future. We have a peace for today. And why not be a loud voice in the middle of this? Affirming, yes, we need to stay safe, but then also joining with that, like, we have hope. We have safety in who Christ is in us, and reminding folks that just because the only voice that they're hearing is you can't do this, you shouldn't do this, and don't do that, we can also remind them of who they are in Christ, who they can be in Christ if they don't know him yet as Savior, and constantly speaking out that message of hope, especially right now when people are freaked out. And so I think we can use this as an opportunity, another platform to just speak out who Christ is, what he does, and how he comes in and saves, but also restores and redeems. I mean, this is a valuable time to use the resources that we have and just keep sharing the message. And now the platform seems to be widened and beyond just Sundays and beyond just in the sanctuary. And so I've been just even challenged right as we were talking right now. How can I help be a part of that voice of hope and encouragement and pointing people to Christ through times like these? I think it's important for us to do that.
Well, and that's the purpose of this whole thing is I wanted to record our thoughts. And I like the podcast approach to it of not really preparing you guys for this ahead of time, because I didn't want you to think of answers ahead of time. I wanted us to think through it together, of just having a organic conversation in this, because I'm sitting here going, oh, wow, how in the world did I not think of that? And writing stuff down as we've been talking, and, you just talking about that thing with the hope. I'm sitting here going, oh, that's going to be my next live video that I post here in a little bit is talk about that, because one of the things I've really tried to do, first off, Sam mentioned this and I've been thinking this all along, and I'm so grateful that this thing is happening in 2020 and not in 2000, because none of this stuff was possible in 2000. If we did video on Facebook, we had high-speed internet, but barely, and was
Facebook even around?
Nope, 04. So, I mean, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have MySpace, we didn't have any of the social networking. This was back before it was social media, it was social networking, and even that didn't exist yet. We had, what were those web page sites we could make? Like some of those where we could make our own websites, but that was about it, Google was around, Yahoo was around. We had Yahoo Chat, that was about the best we could do. AOL, man, Instant Messenger, MSN, so we had those.
Chatted with so many girls back then.
I unsuccessfully did, but we don't have time for that conversation right now.
Me too, yeah.
But you think about it, I mean, what we're doing right now with Zoom or with Facebook Live or YouTube, all this stuff that is just, this is like the best possible time for something like this to happen, because even if we are isolated, we're really not. And so, just like I said, we had 700 people hitting our live stream the other day. That couldn't have happened maybe even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And so the fact that it's happening now, and the fact that, I know my family in Oklahoma watches because they want to see what I'm doing, but we had all sorts of people who may not even attend church, and they're watching in another part of the country or the world. You guys probably the same way. And, you know, we're not even a big church that makes a huge impact all the way around here. Some of the churches were having, you know, hundreds of thousands of interactions. I'm like, man, that is amazing to think that they are like this. Maybe this one church, this one large church is literally covering the world right now. This is pretty cool. So you're right, Rex. I mean, the fact that we are hearing, and whether people are approaching it gently or not, you know, we are hearing a list of, okay, quit leaving your house, which I can tell Rex and I are both in our offices right now. But, you know, I'm the only one in the building, so I figure it's not too big of a deal. But, you know, don't leave your house. Don't get within 6 feet of another person. Don't do this. Don't do that. Wear a face mask. Wear gloves, etc. You know, we joked, one of our ladies texted me on Sunday morning. She goes, I'm a hugger. This is driving me crazy. So I replied to her with a meme of a guy in a hazmat suit with his arms out saying, come on over, give me a hug, you know. That's our mindset. And so to step back from that and go, okay, yes, this is all here, but we have hope in Christ. And we aren't made for this world anyway. We're made for the kingdom. And that's a message that we can get out in just such a widespread, widespread shot right now. So
True.
Any other thoughts, guys?
It's just crazy how we've been encouraging people for years, you know, about the community, and like you should not like isolate, and we got to come together and be one. Like, don't podcast the teaching if you can be in church, you know, like,
yeah,
just things I've spent years harping on, like digital addiction and, you know, social media addiction.
Online church is not church.
Totally. I feel like I don't regret any of that, but it is just kind of funny how,
yeah,
I don't know, is this like the printing press in the 1500s where like for a while it just seemed like, oh, we got no control over the spread of information. And, you know, like you said, you wouldn't want this to have happened in any other time in human history.
Well, and why do we say, you know, okay, online church is a nice alternative, but don't do it if you can avoid it? Why do we say that? Because we're telling people, no, God will bless you more if you're here. And I feel like God's just kind of going, really? Okay. So you guys sit back and learn a thing or two here.
Well, generally speaking, that's true. I mean,
yeah.
Once this is over, that's one of my big fears, or not fears, but like concerns, is like, once this is over, have we created something where we're so reliant on these technologies that, you know, or are people going to be so stoked to get back in church that it's like, oh man, finally we're back. You know, it'll be interesting to see which way we go. And probably some people will go one way and just only engage with church online for the rest of their lives, which we hope not. And then other people are probably going to just be like, man, you know, that was cool that we did the online thing. God got us through, but let's get back to the community.
Yeah. And maybe it'll be somewhere in the middle. Maybe there will be that pull to get back to my kind of prayer in this is that our pull is to get back together, but that suddenly we're open to ideas that we didn't even think about before because we've had to get out of our, you know, I mean, again, we got some folks who don't like change, and you know, I mean, I don't blame them. None of us really truly like change, but it's forced on them now, and so they have to be open-minded towards it. And I talked to one of our gals yesterday. She's one of our younger seniors, you know, still very, very active, and she was telling me how we were in tears Sunday morning because this was possible, you know. And I thought, man, I don't know about you guys. I was really looking forward to feedback because I wanted to know how can we improve this, because I keep saying experience, and I'm not trying to use like the catchy church word of experience, but no, I want you to be able to experience worshiping with your church, even though you might be at home with just 2 or 3 people. So how is the experience of this worship for you? And I was really expecting, you know, a few critical comments just to say, well, this could have been a little bit different, or it was overwhelmingly positive. And, you know, people were just gushing about it. And I don't say it as a brag, but that tells me that it hit them and they were still able to worship through this. And so I hope that as we do get to a point where we start meeting again, you know, we're able to say, okay, you know what, God can touch me in really, really cool ways that I hadn't thought about, or maybe I was scared of before. And now I realize, hey, these are actually pretty cool to do these. So. I'm not thinking that far ahead though, to where I'm saying I'm a little bit nervous about it when we get back together. I'll worry about that when we got about a week or two before we get back together. But yeah, so
It's gonna be pretty cool. I'm excited about the folks getting excited about coming to church. I can see this first Sunday back is just a flood of people.
Yeah.
First couple
It's gonna be
weeks,
awesome.
yeah,
and then just the excitement of what God has already done. I just can't wait to hear the testimonies of people saying, "This is how God grew me this past whatever amount of time, and
yeah,
this is how I've grown close to folks," or "Man, I took for granted the people who I could see, and so because of that, now I'm going to fill in the blank." So, yeah, pray that God will continue His church. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
guys, appreciate you taking the time to come on here and chat a little bit. Tyler, would you pray for us? Just pray for the church moving forward as we just wrap up our conversation and head into the rest of our week, preparing for how we can get our churches ready to worship Sunday.
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, Father, I just want to lift up these brothers here, Kurt and Rex and Sam, who has left us. But I just pray for them as they lead. Would you guide them as church leaders? Lord, we pray that in these obstacles, we would see opportunities. We'd see what you're doing, how you're at work. And Lord, we do pray for a quick end to this virus, that we'd be able to gather together again soon and shortly. We pray for protection in our community, in Grants Pass, and in our country and in our world. And Lord, in the meantime, you are a refuge and strength and ever-present help in trouble. And we will be still and know that you are God. And you will be exalted in this time. So we just seek you in all this, God. Thanks for these brothers here, and use them in great ways. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Thank you.
Guys, have a great rest of your Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, proud of you guys. You guys are awesome.
You guys
Right
are
on.
too.
Thank you, guys.
See you, man.
All right. Bye.